I notice that it's a cosine function. It asks me to use cosine. So I'm going to identify my max and my min. That gives a total distance of 12. So if I cut that in half, I get my midline. Y equals 4. Half of 12 is 6. So that's my amplitude. And again, I can either count up or down by 6 to find that midline. So just by looking at that, I can find, again, using f of x, I have my amplitude of 6. I leave a space because I might be using positive, might be using negative. This time I'm using cosine. My phase shift, everything that's happening horizontally goes inside my function. And the midline is plus 4. That's my vertical shift. So this is what I have so far for my graph. Okay, now, if I were to start here with my cosine, I don't see where the other end is of that phase. So what I have to do is I have to locate a phase that I see both parts. I see the start and the finish of it. So this is the phase that I'm going to look at from here to here. And so if I want to find how what the total period is for that, from 5 to negative 7 is 12 again. And so if you take 2 pi over absolute value of b is equal to our period, which is 12. Again, here I get 12b equals 2 pi. Divide by 12 to find b. Again, b represents the multiplier in front of our x. So that's pi over 6. So I'm going to get pi over 6 here times the quantity x plus or minus my phase shift. And so I'm starting right here. Even though this shift right here is just a little bit over, this is what I'm starting with for what I'm reading right now. So I'm going to start here. It's a shift of 7 to the left. So x minus a negative 7 is what my shift would be. So it becomes x plus 7. And when I look at this graph right here, am I looking at the positive cosine function or a negative cosine function? Is the very first critical point on a cosine positive or negative? Positive, right? But this one's negative, so what do I need to put in front of my function? A negative. Okay, and so this would be the equation I would use for this. Okay, now let's say I wanted to start right here. Okay, so I still have I still have f of x equals, leave a space, 6 cosine. My period doesn't change, so pi over 6. My phase shift does change. But if I were to use this point right here, then my cosine graph got shifted 1 unit to the left. So I'd use a minus 1, so it becomes a plus 1. And now if I start here and I continue with this, even though I don't see exactly where it ends, that would be one phase. Is this going to be the representation of a positive phase or negative, or a positive cosine or negative cosine? That one is positive. So my other option would have been this here. So either of those equations are going to work, as well as there's others. Because it's a periodic function, it will repeat. And so you can have other values, but these would be two possibilities.